In this video, I want to walk you through completing an IRB proposal, which is part of the requirement for EDU 586. The IRB, as I've explained, is a board that is made up of faculty and staff here at UMF. Institutions across the country have them, and their job is to be the gateway for anyone who is doing research with people, whether that is low risk kind of studies like yourself, or whether that is high risk medical trials or sort of other cutting edge technologies. The group meets about once a month, and in order to have your document reviewed, you need to submit it to the chair of the IRB, who is Carol Mayberry. And what I've done in the IRB proposal section of Blackboard is just given you some information about how to submit and then due dates. Most of you probably will be working towards the November 17th submission deadline, but some of you, for other reasons, may want to work more quickly and shoot for an earlier submission, which is fine. I'm happy to support you with that. The first thing that I would recommend that you do is download the samples to take a look at them. So this is the IRB proposal, and you've all seen it, I believe, that Sandy had submitted for the study that you were part of this past summer. So you can see, the cover sheet is your biodemographical information. It will also indicate my name as the advisor for the paper, the start date of when you want to start collecting research, and then the completion date. And then for the questions down below, you are, sort of checking those boxes off. And then there's a summary of the proposal. You can get a sense here of kind of what goes into that. It's really to give the IRB an overview of what is it that you're looking to do, and kind of why are you looking to do it. It is not uncommon that your summary section would have some references to your literature. Then there's the subject recruitment, and sort of how you're going to do those pieces, confidentiality, the risks, benefit, debriefing, and then the personnel and dissemination of results. You will also, in that same single document, you'll have your formal consent from or assent from your administrators. You will have any informed consent forms that you are authoring, and then you'll have any protocols that you're using, whether that's an observation protocol, whether that's a survey instrument, whether that is a interview questionnaire. That will also be included in the proposal. What I've done for you all is given you, in Google Classroom, you have a blank template to start working from. So encourage you to open that up and start working right into that document. You will need to download it as a PDF to submit it. Again, the content, sort of that biodemographical piece. With regards to the start date, most of the time what I recommend to folks is that they leave that as saying something like pending IRB approval or seeking approval from IRB in November, because if there's any adjustments that need to be made, then that gives us a little bit of flexibility. Completion date, you can do June of 2018 because you will be wrapped up by that point. You and I are both going to need to sign this prior to submission. Once you'll go through a draft process for me, once you've made revisions to it, then when you're ready to submit, I can add a JPEG of my signature, and you can do the same because I'm your faculty sponsor. You'll check these elements here of what pertains to your study, and then you're going to write out the proposal. So the summary is where you give that overview. Again, think about the fact that people sitting on the IRB have no idea what the topic is, and may not have intimate knowledge of the subject area, so try and write it in layman's terms. And just be really clear about what it is, what have you found in the literature, what are you going to try and do. Summary of the proposal is usually 3/4 of a page to 1 page in length. And like I said, it will often have those references that get listed right below. Then you'll talk about your subject recruitment. How are you going to invite people to participate? One thing to be really clear about is your role at the school if you're going to use your own school, and just making sure that you address the fact that if you're recruiting your own students, how will you deal with issues of kind of power and coercion. Their grade won't be impacted. All of those pieces will be important. And then you will be looking for, remember, your district leaders, so that's usually your building level principal and your superintendent, to give assent that the study is going to take place in the district. Then anyone who is a participant in the study will also need to consent, and if that person is under the age of 18, the parent will also need to consent. Confidentiality, how are you going to protect the data and make sure that you're using pseudonyms, risks, benefits, debriefing. Again, I don't anticipate that any of you will have debriefing because I don't believe there's any coercion in anyone's or hiding of the topics in anyone's proposals. For personnel, you'll be listed there, and then I would encourage you to also list myself there because that will give me the ability to access your data when you're making sense of it. For other institutions involved in this project, most of you don't need to write anything. Those of you that are at another higher ed institution, then that will need to be included here. For most of you, yes, you're working in a school district, but that district assent letter will cover you here. For the dissemination of results, you want to be clear about the fact that you will be presenting this publicly in the form of a paper and some sort of open symposium. And I would also leave yourself the option to publish a research article or present at a state or national conference on this. And then, like I said, you're going to include your consent forms, assent forms, and then any of the instruments that you're going to use in this study will get included. What I've done on each of the subsequent pages is given you the blank documents to start working from. If you don't need one of those documents, please delete it. And then clearly, wherever the yellow text is, you're going to be changing it to your name and your contact information. And you're going to want to be really careful about the reading level of all the text that you write for kids and for parents. And we'll talk more about that in class. But for those of you that want to work ahead, that's something to keep in mind. So I've given you all those blank forms to start working from, and then again, after those blank forms, you'll add another appendix. Make sure you go back and double check that your letters are all sequential. You'll add an appendix for each instrument that you're going to use in your proposal. We'll talk more about the specifics, but this will be hopefully a helpful video for you to get a sense of the basics and begin working before we get a chance to connect.